Hi, I'm David, here to wish you a Happy New Year 2022. And I'd like to begin with a scripture passage which is from the second letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians. Our momentary light affliction is producing for us an absolutely incomparable eternal weight of glory. So we do not focus on what is seen, but what is unseen. For what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. So we're going through some difficult times the past 2 years, and just as we enter this brand new year and really things don't look much better, let's just remember what St. Paul tells us. This is temporary. Even if this lasts another 5 years, it's temporary. In fact, to be honest, our whole life is temporary, and our goal is the life to come. And keeping that in mind, whatever we are suffering, we can offer it to God, continue to pray, continue to be faithful, and know that God has great things waiting for us, even if they may not be here in this life. Okay? So, I'm going to share with you a Christmas story here on New Year because it has an important point we can take it with us into 2022. This is the story called Silent Night, the story of a World War I Christmas truce. And I will just read it for you. On a crisp, clear morning, more than 100 years ago, thousands of British, Belgian, and French soldiers put down their rifles, stepped out of their trenches, and spent Christmas mingling with their German enemies. Pope Benedict XV, this is not our Pope Benedict that we know, this is Benedict from around the early 1900s. Pope Benedict XV had called for a Christmas truce, an idea that was officially rejected. The sheer misery of the daily life in the cold and wet trenches may have motivated the troops to initiate a truce on their own. It's hard to pin down exactly what happened. There are so many different oral accounts, diary entries, and letters home from those who took part in that event that it's impossible to say exactly what happened on that Christmas. What is known is that about 100,000 Allied soldiers participated in the legendary truce. Most accounts suggest that the truce began with carol singing from the trenches on the beautiful moonlit Christmas Eve. There was frost and light snow on the ground. Graham Williams of the 1st London Rifle Brigade describes it this way. First the Germans would sing one of their carols and we would sing one of our own and they did this each in their own language, until we started singing O Come All Ye Faithful, when the Germans immediately joined in the singing in the same hymn to the Latin words Adeste Fidelis. And I thought, well, this is really a most extraordinary thing, two nations both singing the same carol in the middle of a war. The next morning, in some places, German soldiers emerged from their trenches calling out, Merry Christmas in English. Allied soldiers came out warily to greet them. In others, Germans held up signs reading, You no shoot, we no shoot. Over the course of the day, troops exchanged gifts of cigarettes, food, buttons, and hats. The Christmas truce also allowed both sides to finally bury their dead comrades, whose bodies had lain for weeks on no man's land, the ground between the opposing trenches. Today, more than a century later, the truce is remembered as a testament to the power of hope and humanity in a truly dark hour of history. So what can we learn from this Christmas truce? I think the first thing we can learn is that among humans there are no, quote, natural enemies. We know in the animal kingdom certain animals are natural predators and natural enemies of other animals. But in the among human beings, there are really no natural enemies, with one exception, okay, which I'll talk about later. People are not enemies because they are separated by border or by an ocean. People are not enemies because of differences in race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, or even medical status. We are all passing through this human existence. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Humans were created in the image of God, which means we were born to love, not hate. Brave soldiers who march off to war are true heroes. In medieval times, soldiers fought for the cause of the king. The king gained power or land or wealth because of the soldiers sacrificing their lives. Why would they risk their lives with nothing to gain for themselves? Well, maybe it was due to their loyalty to the crown or a sense of honor. But we look at that and think, why? They're doing it for this greedy king who already has more than all the people combined. We don't understand why they would do that, but there was that, again, that sense of loyalty, of honor. Now, in our modern times, soldiers go off to war to defend their country and protect their families, their homeland, and to fight for freedom. This seems to be a better reason to fight. Unfortunately, it's not the real reason for wars. Wars are orchestrated by an elite group of evil people who use their wealth and power to control the world. Events are planned to create a, quote, need for war. Countries are pitted against other countries. The elite bankers who cause the war do not care who wins. They make money from the war while they secretly control the world by keeping people and nations at odds with one another. This is why I said earlier, among human beings, there are no natural enemies, with one exception. The common enemy of all humanity is this group of global elites that have no concern for humanity and use the people only to enrich themselves. St. John talked about the world being controlled by evil in his first epistle when he said, "We know that we are children of God and that the whole world is under the control of the evil one." When the day comes when all of humanity will stand united against the people who have controlled the world behind the scenes, these evil people will not stand a chance. We read in Psalm 37, "For those who are evil will be destroyed, but those who hope in the Lord will inherit the land." This information that the wars are actually orchestrated by evil people does not diminish the bravery of the soldiers who fought valiantly, believing that they are fighting for a just cause. In fact, my father bravely fought in the invasion of Normandy, and he waded through the ocean, coming to shore into the battle as dead, bloody bodies floated past him out to sea in the water that was tainted red with human blood, and he kept marching forward, as did the soldiers, and they were very brave to do this. And they, in their hearts, believed they were just simply fighting for freedom and for the love of their country. And if there were other things behind the scenes that were very sinister, that made this war completely different than they thought, that they didn't know about that. All I know is they were very brave in doing what they thought was right. Now, on December 24th, 2014, historian Nena Baheko wrote the following: "For many at the time, the story of the Christmas truce was not an example of chivalry in the depths of war, but rather a tale of subversion, when the men on the ground decided they were not fighting the same war as their superiors. In reality, these soldiers were not even fighting the same war that their generals believed they were fighting." One British soldier, Murdoch M. Wood, said in 1930, as he was recalling that Christmas truce, and I quote, "I then came to the conclusion that I have held very firmly ever since, that if we had been left to ourselves, there would never have been another shot fired." So what can you do, what can I do to make the world a better place, a less evil place in 2022? Well, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said that darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. And St. Paul wrote in his letter to the Romans, "Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." And so, go out in 2022, and number one, do not be discouraged. Number two, be not overcome by fear, because fear is used to control, and fear is from the enemy, and fear is not from God. So go out and try to avoid being fearful. And when you see this evil in the world, everywhere you see, just do whatever little thing you can do to make the world a better place, to do good, to try and bring enough love that maybe it can overcome some of this, hatred, enough good that it can help alleviate some of the evil. And you alone, it's hard to make a difference. It's not anything that you can do. It's not anything that I can do. It's something that if everyone does it, and with the help of God, we can make the world a better place. And that is our goal for 2022. So God bless all of you.